about this? Hello and welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for Anderson County, the general election, which is August 4th, with early voting starting tomorrow and going through the end of July. My name is Dan Robbins. I'm Director of Voter Services for the League of Women Voters. Okay. I'd first like to introduce the League of Women Voters who are going to help us tonight. First of all, there are two runners, Carol Placille and Willa Reister, and you've all got 3x5 cards to write questions on. Be sure you say which office the question is for, so the people who are sorting the questions know which pile to put them in. And if you need extra cards, just hold up the card and Willa Reister or someone will come and get it. This is Willa. Carol will be here in a minute. And once you've done your question, you can hold up the card like this lady back here, Willa, in the corner, and she'll get it and bring it down to the Petersons. Are going to wave so we know who they are, Hella and Pete Peterson, and they're going to sort the cards. For example, sheriff is the first office that people are running for, and so they're sorting the cards, but they're only going to give our moderator the best three. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night if a whole bunch of people ask a whole lot of questions about every candidate. And so make your question really good so it's one of the top three. And then for the questions that are left over, they'll leave them here, and the candidates are welcome to come and look at them afterwards so they are familiar with things that are concerning their constituents. How do we get that message off the screen? If you hate technology as much as I do, I'd never assume the damn thing. But that's not my choice. Let's see. Our Zoom operators are Mr. and Ms. Boy. Raise your hands. Thank you very much. And the person who's going to get the most exercise tonight is Harriet Purdy, and she's going to hold up a question that says 30 seconds when each person who's speaking here has 30 seconds left. And after 30 seconds, she's going to hold up this sign. And hopefully we'll get out of here at a reasonable time. It's now my pleasure to introduce the person who's going to run most of the rest of the show, and that's Bear Stevenson, who is from Stevenson Realty and Auction, and he's going to call each of the sets of candidates up. For example, the first one, Sheriff, he's going to ask those two candidates, Sheriff, to come and sit up here. He's going to introduce one, and they're going to make a statement for a minute and a half, and then the other one will make a statement for a minute and a half. We'll collect the top three questions for Sheriff, and he'll read one of them. One candidate will come up and respond for no more than a minute and a half, and then the second candidate will come up and respond. And then Mayor will do that with the second question and the third question, and then each candidate gets a minute and a half to make a closing statement. Now, there are some candidates who couldn't be here for illness or some other reason, and they have sent somebody to read a statement, and that person has 2 minutes to read the opening statement, and then they're not allowed to answer questions or make a closing statement. Okay, there's Stevens.
Thank you, Dan Robbins. I want to welcome all of you here to our forum tonight. When Dan called me about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Stand over here.
I got to stand over here? Oh. I didn't think they wanted to see me. But anyway, he called me and asked me if I would do what I'm doing tonight, be the moderator of this forum for Anderson County. We had a warm-up this past Tuesday night for Roane County, right here in this same room. So we've had a little practice doing for the Roane County, but I guess in a way it's probably good and fitting for him to have called me to do this, and I'll tell you why. I served for about the last 3 years on the Anderson County Election Commission. And we, all 5 of us on the election commission, there's 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. I am one of the 2 Democrats. He serves on the election commission. In all 95 states, the makeup of all 95 election commissions all have 5 people on the election commission. And our job is to make sure that all of our elections are fair and free. And that is something that we all take great pride in making sure that happens for Anderson County. But anyway, the makeup of the election commissions in all 95 counties with the 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats is made up that way because of the makeup of the General Assembly in Nashville. And right now, it's Republican controlled. There's more Republicans in both the House and the Senate. And that's the reason that we have in every county 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. But being on the election commission, one of the quickest ways I can get kicked off the election commission is not be nonpartisan. I am not for any of y'all. Any of you candidates is running, I'm not for any of it. Let's just make that clear right now. I am bipartisan.
Send them home.
But anyway, seriously, those of you who are taking an active role in our democratic process, thank you for being here tonight. We didn't have nearly this many for our Roane County forum on Tuesday night. But real quickly, I just want to share with you something I heard Ned Ray McWhirter said one time. He said there's only 2 ways to run a political campaign, either unopposed or scared. And there's a bunch of candidates that I'm going to introduce right now who are running unopposed because their elections have already been established and they know who they are. Our county mayor running unopposed with no opposition, Terry Frank. Terry here. Circuit Court Clerk, Rex Lynch, he's here. Our county clerk, Jeff Cole. Our Register of Deeds, Tim Shelton. Our trustee, Regina Copeland. Our district attorney general, General Clark up here right in the center. Our public defender, Ann Coria. Is Ann here? Our chancellor, Nicole Cantrell. Is Chancellor Cantrell here tonight? No. Criminal and Circuit Court Judge, Ryan Spitzer. Is Ryan here? The Juvenile Court Judge, Brian Hunt. General Sessions Judge, Division 1, Victoria Bowling. General Sessions Judge, Division 2, Matt Tuck. Matt's back here in the back. Road Superintendent, Gary Long. And he told me before we started, he said, as soon as I get introduced, he said, I'm going to have to leave because I've got some trees to get out of some roads that the storm blew down the other night. So he'll be leaving shortly. County School Board District 6, Scott Gillywaters. Back in the back in the corner. And our County School Board District 7, Don Bell. Is Don here? These are all of the candidates with no opposition, and you're free to stay as long as you want to, and you can just go ahead and leave now, or you can stay. Because you're in that category. Only two ways to run a political campaign: unopposed or scared, and none of you are scared because you aren't running. Okay, now, we have, just to give you a quick rundown, we've got candidates with opposition. We've got the sheriff, County Commission District 6, County Commission District 7, and County Commission District 8. And at this time, I'd like to call down in the front Russell Barker and Rusty Carr, the two candidates for sheriff. Take one of the two seats over here.
For those of you on the Zoom, if you have questions, put them in the chat box, and our Zoom masters here will write them down and give them to the Petersons, and they'll shuffle them into the priorities.
Before we start with these questions, I just want you to know, I did not write these questions. I'm just reading them, so don't you fuss at me. I'm just a messenger. Number one, what you're going to do. Oh, excuse me. Yes, you get it. Thank you. Yeah, I got all carried away here. Yeah, what we're going to have to do, the other night, we took this microphone and went from candidate to candidate over there, but because we have this Zoom right here, and for people to be able to see the candidates, all you candidates are going to stand right where I am, right behind this podium. And you are going to give your opening statements, you're going to answer your questions, and we'll just have to go shuffle back and forth and back and forth. But anyway, and we're going to go in alphabetical order. Russell Barker, you come to the podium and give your minute-and-a-half opening statement.
I will hold off on the pleasantries because I have a minute and a half. But what I would like to say is thank you guys for having us and having this event. My name is Russell Barker. I'm your current sheriff here in Anderson County. I'm finishing my first term up. My background has been in law enforcement for 22 years. I have 18 of those I spent with the Clinton Police Department. So the only other job I've had is being your sheriff. I have an associate's degree from right here in Rome State in criminal justice. I went on to get my bachelor's in criminal justice from King University. In addition to that, I'm a graduate of the National Forensics Academy. I have been through SELA, Southeastern Leadership Academy, where I was recognized for Innovator in Leadership Award. I sit on numerous boards, and to be honest with you, I'm really proud of the job we've done, and I'm really proud to be your guys' sheriff. I'm thankful for our community. We have an absolute wonderful community here in Anderson County. We're growing, and I'm really looking forward to leading the sheriff's office here in the next 4 years. Thank you, guys. Oh.
Okay, just hang on. Yeah. My name's Rusty Carr, and I'm running for sheriff in Anderson County. I'm an Anderson County resident. I've got 2 stepdaughters, a son, which I'm proud of. He's fixing to leave for the military in August. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years. I've served in the municipal police departments, county sheriff's department, and with the state. And I was recently worked under Sheriff Barker. I decided to run for sheriff. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I figured it was time after 20 years. I do want to, and like the sheriff said, the county is growing, so I think that we need to take a strong stance. Where I live, there is a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of drugs coming into the county, and I think that as an enforcement effort, we've got to take a strong stance on that. By saying that is also you've got to educate, and then you also got to be able to provide rehabilitation too. Because you can't just keep throwing them in jail, It's a revolving door. So I guess that sums it up is I want to decrease crime. That's my main goal. So I would appreciate y'all's vote. Thank you.
We're going to start out with these 3 questions, and each one of you will answer the same question. We're going to start out in alphabetical order, which first is Russell Barker, and the question is this: what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the Sheriff's Department?
So the biggest challenge that we're facing at the Sheriff's Department is simply retaining good employees and attracting good employees. For the first 4 years of my first term here, we've seen some unprecedented things happen in our country. When we went to new sheriff school back in 18, they told us that you're as popular now as you're ever going to be. It's all downhill from here, right? And that's held to be true because we've survived Black Lives Matter. We have went through a pandemic, and we've just seen some things that are unbelievable. So one of the things that we're seeing is, particularly with the job market changing and us competing with the same people in the private sector, pay is an issue. Work hours are an issue because a lot of folks are now working from home. So it makes it tough to attract and retain good people, and pay is always an issue. It is a employee's market now. We had an incident recently where we had what we call a legacy hire, someone who had family members that were in business, but they were actually at the time making more money at Panda Express than they could with the Anderson County Sheriff's Department. But that is something we have addressed, and so we're back in the game, and we're excited about that. But that's what we have to do. We have to change the outlook of how we're viewed nationally and locally as law enforcement.
Next, come on up here, Rusty Carr, and I'm going to slide this back just a little, and maybe you won't be cutting the top of your head off. But anyway, Rusty, same question. What do you see as the biggest challenges for the Sheriff's Department?
Well, I think that being the sheriff was on the same lines with that. The officers are leaving in droves, and it is because of the pay. And I have to say I agree 100%. That was actually going to be my answer. I guess it started back around 2015, and it's just gotten worse. It's just gotten a lot worse. I think my stepdaughter makes at Sonic. She makes almost $14 an hour. She makes $200, $300 a night in tips. And you've got police officers bringing home $1,100 every 2 weeks. That's just, I know I did it. And we're having to work side jobs. So yes, I think that is retaining people, and you got to find the benefit. You got to be able to give them some kind of something to where we got to come up with that money to be able to keep. Because you start training officers, and I've seen it over the years. You start training officers, and then they leave, and you become a training ground, and then they go somewhere else for better pay, or they end up getting out of the. And obviously, we live here at Oak Ridge, so everybody knows what's in our back door. That's hard to that pay. That's hard to compete with. So yeah, that's my answer.
You just stay up here. We're going in alphabetical order, then we're going back the other way. Now, second question is, how many SRO officers are there, and how many in school?
Okay. I believe there's slotted 16 SROs of witnesses. You've got 2 schools. Norris one officer actually protects both of those schools. So he goes back and forth. I worked there for a while. It's on the same campus, so you got one officer there, but it is two different schools. And then, of course, you got supervisors and stuff that move throughout the county and stuff. So, yep, I think that's it.
Bear, what was that question again?
How many SRO officers are there and how many are actually in the school? SRO officers.
Okay, so when we came into office there in 2018, what we saw was we were approximately 9 SROs for 17 county schools. Through grants through the state that we've secured, we have increased that number to 50. So we have 15 campuses, 17 schools, and so we have an SRO in every school, or excuse me, every campus. Our goal in the second term is to make sure that we have one in every school. Security of our schools is always on the forefront. It's because they're some of our most vulnerable population. And I can tell you, we take it serious because a lot of our deputies are kids as well. And we are proud of the job that we've done. We have done some new and innovative things to make sure that we're going to attract them there as well, people who want to be SROs. We think that through these grants and through some creative schedules that we're working with through the school system, that we're going to be able to attract and retain quality people there. Because I can tell you, it's a different environment for SROs, right? It's not just police work. It's family law, it's juvenile law, and honestly, those are two of the things that police officers hate the most. Because there's nothing worse than having to take a look and translate child parenting.
Go sit down. You know how hard it is for an auctioneer with a microphone and this many people like to break out in an auction chant right now? But anyway, our third question, and Rusty, you come up here, be the first on this. Transparency seems to lack in our county. Why was there not statements released regarding the incidents at CHS Clinton High School football game and the officers involved shooting on April the 14th? If elected, how would you handle situations that require transparency?
Transparency is a must. That's something that I'll never hide anything from anybody. I'll tell the truth and stand up. I'll tell the truth no matter if it hurts us. I'll tell the truth. I don't know much about that, the shooting incident or whatever. I don't know much about that, but I don't want to get talking about the direct incidents. But if I had been in charge, I definitely would have put out a press release, a news release, and let everybody know, hey, this is what happened. There's certain details, obviously, you can't talk about in an investigation, but the public does have the right to know.
That was easy, Bear. I got that. Okay. Yeah, so Rusty was actually part of that incident. He was on duty that night. And there was no shooting. So I don't know why they haven't questioned. I think where that came from was it was erroneously reported that that the juvenile in question was tased, and he absolutely wasn't. And we were completely 100% transparent on that. And to be quite frank with you, I would make this argument. I think I've been the most transparent sheriff the county's ever seen. There is nothing that we won't talk about or dodge, particularly unless if there's an open investigation or a lawsuit, things like that. Those are the things that we can't discuss. So, regarding this incident, it was dealt with, okay? It involved some of the most highly charged things you can think of: cops, juveniles, and there was an element of race. Now, we had people from the outside who wanted to make it about race, and it simply was not about race. There was nothing that Rusty or any of those deputies did that night that was, one, policy violation, two, that was criminal. And it for sure had nothing to do with the fact of anybody's skin color or ethnic background. But we still had to do that. We still had to handle it with kid gloves. But I can tell you this, we had zero protests from outside people. We had absolutely nothing other than the investigation where everybody was clear. And there was really no need to come out and run people into the ground over poor choices. It simply wasn't.
Thank you. Now, come August the 4th, you're going to be voting on one of these two to be our next sheriff for the next 4 years. Let's give them a round of applause. And now we have our final statement. We as auctioneers, we just like to get it on down the road. So, since Russell Barker gave the first opening statement, Rusty Carr is going to give the first closing statement.
So, first, I'm a newbie at this, so speaking in front of people, I'm not going to lie to you. I told you I won't lie to you. So, a little nervous. The sheriff's a lot better at it than I am. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, she's very important to me. And so what do I say? And she said, speak from your heart. And I thought, okay. I forgot about that, running this campaign and stuff. You get wrapped up in everything. And when I was a child, I was in school and I heard a speech. And it came from John F. Kennedy, and it said, that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And at that point, I think it instilled in me a servant's heart. Every day I've gotten up, went to work, whether I had to arrest somebody or write somebody a ticket or help somebody on the side of the road or whatever it is, I've solely done it from the heart. And if I'm elected the next sheriff, I will serve 100% every single day. It'll be straight from the heart. Thank you.
Again, something Rusty and I agree on. It is about a servant's heart. I have a background for 22 years serving the Superior community, City of Clinton and Anderson County. I am a former Marine. I served in the Marine Corps Reserve. Service is what it's all about. Service to others is what it's all about. Guys, I'm telling you, this is a big job. We have 180 employees. We have a $13 million budget. We have to make sure that we're not coming in and starting from scratch to try to make sure that we're getting on the job training. We can't afford that. Currently in law enforcement, it is just absolutely it's difficult, and it's difficult to navigate. And we have to make sure that we're out in the community. Community policing is a huge portion of what we do. We have a position called Director of Community Relations. We are literally the most active administration you've ever seen at the Sheriff's Office because we're in the community. We're attending events. We are, like for example, here on the 23rd, we partner with Isaiah House to do a fundraiser with them. That's what we have to have. That's how we change the perception, where we're out talking and we're out interacting with people. August 4th, I'm asking for your vote. I think we've earned another term. Have we been perfect? Absolutely not. We haven't. But we've done a really good job. We've stayed within budget. We've returned money in. And we've stayed out of lawsuits. And we're excited about that. Thank you, guys.
I said about 3 minutes ago, you're still going to get to vote for one of these two sheriffs. Now that they've had their closing statements. Next we have one of these candidates is not here tonight. Was informed Dan informed me before we started that she has COVID tonight. But Anthony Allen and Catherine Dittenberg, who is home with COVID, and Steve Meade. You two, Steve, Anthony Allen and Steve Meade, you two come on down here. And I'm sure that Catherine is watching by Zoom. Hope you get well soon, Catherine. You're speaking on her behalf, correct. You just come on over here and take a seat as well.
You pick whatever seat you want, I'll take it.
Because I'm going
I think I have lost control.
So what's new, Bear?
That is true. This is like county commission. This is organized chaos. Anthony Allen?
He's not here.
He's not here. Is there anybody here who is going to speak on behalf of Anthony Allen? Anybody? Okay. Well, we have, in alphabetical order, we have Catherine Dittenberg, who is, her opening statement is going to be made by Ann Backus. She has 2 minutes to speak, and then after that, that's all the speaking she's going to do. It's just like the questions. I don't write the questions. I don't make up the rules. I just tell you what the rules are that have been made previously by the League of Women Voters. But anyway, Ann Backus speaking on behalf of Catherine Dittenberg.
Thank you, Bear. I'm Ann Backus, and I'm honored to read this letter from Catherine Dittenberg, County Commissioner for District 6. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I am unable to speak at this important event due to the fact that I am dealing with the after effects of COVID-19, and I'm not 100%. In the meantime, I do hope that you will refer your questions to my excellent counterpart, Steve Meade. Mr. Meade and I have served on Anderson County Commission for the past 4+ years. While we are not always on the same side, we work together to find a solution that works for District 6 and all of Anderson County. I do hope you will consider me a viable candidate and one that will always consider your point of view. While I'm not with you in person tonight, I am with you in spirit. Sincerely, Catherine Dittenberg.
And said, I'm out of here. Don't you want to hear Steve Meade's answers to these 3 questions? Now, Steve Meade, you have 1.5 minutes. And you watch this pretty little lady right here, because she's got the...
She's not going to let me.
She's got the sign.
Yeah, I'm Steve Meade. I'm a little surprised to have an opponent in the election kind of endorse me like that. I expect a significant turnover in the county commission this election. Thus, there is a need for some that have strong backgrounds and have demonstrated leadership to stay on the commission, and I think I'm one of those. Well, just to what does being a county commissioner really entail? You know, I have people ask that all the time. And here's what I think the key things to keep in mind are. Your job is to ensure that the county complies with state law and with the U.S. and Tennessee Constitution. That's part of your oath of office. You need to balance the budget with smart, sometimes difficult spending decisions. You need to keep taxes as low as possible to make the county attractive to business and to new residents, as well as make the folks want to stay. You need to stay up to date with state law and help change it when it's needed. I've been actively involved working in the legislature. I've written a bunch of bills. Be available to the public, help understand the issues, and do what is right for the people of the county, not just for you. But most importantly, you must be willing to work with the entire commission regardless of their political affiliation, and you need to talk to the people because they're all your people regardless of their political affiliations, because we have to work together. I thank you so much.
We have 3 questions for Steve Meade. Since Catherine is at home recovering from COVID and Anthony Allen is not here, so Steve Meade, your first question is this. The American Rescue Plan brought millions in federal and state dollars that were available for water and sewer infrastructure. How do you propose that money be used?
Well, we know about this money, and there's plans have all been laid down. It's all been discussed in some detail. There are a number of places that this is going to allow the county to expand, particularly drinking water. Also, in some cases, internet service. Believe it or not, there are parts of Anderson County where there is no internet service. If you don't have some kind of landline to your house, it's just not available. And so those are things that we plan to expand on. If I'd had a little bit more warning, I could have brought in more detail. But I'm certainly in favor of, that when there's money that's available to do good things for the county, and it actually comes from somebody other than our taxpayers, I'm always in favor of that. I've said that in many meetings, I've made motions to approve grants. I mean, here we have an approved grant, and somebody has to make a motion to let us use it. I can't believe it. I often have to do that. And so that's where I'm at, because think about it, today, without internet service, kids in school are at a huge disadvantage. And luckily, there's a bunch of brand new contracts right now for major expansions in internet service. And there's also some expansions in the sewer system and the water system, which are also pretty important. Because we got some areas of Anderson County that I don't know if you know what a PERC test is, but they don't pass. You can't have septic tanks there because the soil doesn't absorb the water. And so there are some places that it really needs to be taken care of, and I believe that the Anderson County Commission has been doing that. Thank you.
Don't run away. Alphabetical order. Steve Meade's next.
I hate to disagree with my opponent.
Your next question is this. What in particular sets you apart from your opponent? From your opponents.
Okay. Well, in the case of one opponent, Anthony Allen, I don't recall him ever being at a county commission meeting. I've been at a bunch of them, and so is Catherine Denenberg. I know that even before I went on commission, I attended a bunch of them to see what it was about. Although I will admit that when I first signed up to be on the commission, to run for commission, I didn't know we were paid at all. And then I found out we get like $400 a month, after they take out the taxes and stuff. Being a retired military officer, I don't need any medical benefits, so I couldn't do that either. And so, where was I headed on this? And Catherine Denenberg and I, what I will say is she and I, about 98% of the time, voted the same, actually, on the issues that were discussed in the county commission. Now, Catherine and I have some significant differences in national political belief, okay? And that's not a secret to anybody, I don't think, okay? She kind of comes from one side of the fence and I come from the other, but at the county government level, we agree on almost everything.
I started to say, you get how much a month? I think you may be overpaid.
No, he's not.
I pointed out that they gave us minimum wage, it would double our pay.
Just joking. Okay, your last question, Mr. McGee. What are the three most important issues facing Anderson County? The three most important issues.
I would say that the number one really good control on our budget. There are all kinds of things people would like to do. There's all kinds of places people like to spend money. But we have to be very careful. Because every time you expand that budget, it also means at some point you're going to end up expanding taxes. And we don't need to expand taxes anymore in Anderson County. I'm very proud of the fact that when I came on commission, the Oak Ridge tax rate for the county was $2.68, $2.68, and now it's $2.46. So we maintained that back. Plus, when I first came on commission 12 years ago, Anderson County was in a desperate situation with the budget. We were very close to the state taking over the budget of the county. And now I'm glad to say that Anderson County is in really good shape. We have extra reserves. We were helped very much by the fact that the sales tax that was going all back to the state and not coming to counties for all this internet stuff has been changed. And now the tax is based upon where something is delivered, not where it came from. And so that's been very helpful. It's been millions and millions of dollars in county government that we should have gotten before, but we didn't because of the way the law at the state level was written. The other thing is expanding the internet, expanding the water and gas system. Those are a couple of real biggies. And if anybody has noticed, there are a few county roads that still need some work. Right.
Thank you, Steve B. You're going to be voting between you're going to be electing two people, and there's three on the ballot. Anthony Allen, Catherine Dendenberg, Steve Meade, and you have a minute and a half for a closing statement.
I'm glad I got to close this out here for this little section. But what it comes down to is, I have some little sheets out there you can pick up and kind of give my background. But very briefly, I started my life at 17, joining the U.S. Navy at the recommendation of my father, who was a college professor. I was all signed up to go to college and all the college prep stuff. He said, Steve, you ought to think about going to the military. Here it was 1966, middle of the Vietnam War. And if you graduate from college, you're going to get drafted immediately. So how about, go in the military, get a few years behind you, get GI Bill, go to college. And then when you go to get a job someplace, they're going to know that you're not going to get drafted because your military duty's behind. So to make a long story very short, at 17, I joined the Navy on a 3-year enlistment. And 21 and a half years later, I was stuck the heck up. But in the meantime, while I joined the Navy, I spent 16 weeks in electronics technician training. I spent 52 weeks in nuclear reactor training. I spent 10 months in submarine school. I was sent full-time to get a Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I got my MSBA from Boston University while stationed overseas. And then I came to Oak Ridge and spent 26 years working in project management in the hyper-reactor K-25 in Whitehall. And besides that, I got 9 grandkids, 4 great-grandkids, and 4 wonderful daughters, all but one live right in the general area. Thank you.
You not only have given service to this country, you have given service to Anderson County and to the nation, and we appreciate and thank you for what you've done. Actually, he said after 21 and a half years, I think they kicked him out. I think is what they did. Next, we have 3 more county commission candidates from District 7. What we just heard from was District 6. Now we have District 7. We have Sabra Beauchamp, Stephen Popick, and Steve Barron. If you 3 come down and just take a seat up here.
Beauchamp, Stephen Poppett, Steve Aaron. That's you, Steve Aaron. Are you the only one here? Representing District 7 in Anderson County. Just take a seat. Anybody else? The other two candidates, is there anybody here to speak on their behalf? If not, Pete Peterson, his wife, Helen, it's Helen. They're handling the questions over here, and I walked over there to get some more questions. He said, won't you just ask the same 3 questions? And I said, I don't know if you heard me or not, but I said, well, he's been sitting back there, he's already heard the answers. So, I'm not in charge of the questions. I just read the questions. So, you come up here and give your 1.5-minute opening statement, Steve Vern.
Well, I want to thank y'all for coming out. My name is Steve Barrett. I was born here in Oak Ridge. I didn't grow up here, even though I spent my first 12 years in a flat top house. So it's fall here. So anyway, I started out my career working at Gray Hodges as a clerk for $2 an hour. Worked my way up into another company, inventory control, and then finally I wound up running a manufacturing company over in Lenore City. Yeah. I've dealt with a lot of different types of issues, different things, different companies, different products, thousands of products, hundreds of vendors. You know, spent 5 years at Downtown Hardware, where I'd even put a little screw in a wall for the lady. So, I mean, you know, I've delivered hot valves and fittings to the nuclear plant at Browns Ferry, and also Spring City, I think, back in the 70s. So I've done a lot of different things. I try to use a practical approach and whatever's cost effective too. You know, government is not spend as you wish and hope that you can pay for it. So, thank you.
What, your first question is, what in particular sets you apart from your 2 opponents, which is Saber Beauchamp and Stephen Poppett? So what sets you apart from those 2?
Well, first of all, County Commission used to be independent. This year they decided to make it a party thing. So the Republicans ran a whole party thing. I'm a Democrat. I used to be a Republican, but now I'm a Democrat. That's the biggest difference you're going to find between us. I can't say anything about them. I don't really know them. So, you know, all I can do is just offer whatever I think I can to the county commission, you know, and work to find practical solutions to the problems that we have today.
You go anywhere. The American Rescue Plan brought billions of dollars in state, in federal and state dollars that are available for water and sewer infrastructure. How do you propose that money be used?
Well, as Steve Meade said, we do have problems for infrastructure as far as sewer lines, water lines for different areas of the country, and of course the internet. You can't get a job today without internet, so that's really important. I'd like to see us start moving forward on clean energy. Now then, whether that be like a project for the high school, where we could educate students on solar and wind and stuff like that, because that's going to be the future. That's just simple, you know, and, but it has to be practical and cost effective too. We can't just spend money thinking that, you know, we got this big check-in from the federal government and it's going to be free to keep. And solar may or may not be practical. Google says their solar project says that like 87% of the houses in Anderson County will work properly with solar energy. So, you know, it's going to come. It's just a matter of time. If we can work it out, then we work it out. If we can't, we can't.
Okay, and your last question, what are the 3 most important issues facing Anderson County, in your opinion?
Well, what's the most important issues for Anderson County depends on your perspective. If you live out near Bull Run Steam Plant, the coal ash might be the #1 problem. You might be involved with something to do with the nuclear waste that we have to deal with here at Oak Ridge. Lord knows we got tons of that. You know, we got to find solutions to these problems, and they need to be permanent solutions. You can't just build a playground on top of coal ash, you know, that sort of thing. That just amazes me how stupid that sounds, you know? So, anyway, if you're close to an elderly worker living in Clinton, and you got to drive the job on bald tires, then, you know, you have different issues. You have transportation and stuff. She said stop.
You held up the wrong placard. But anyway, at this time, we're going to hear Steve Aaron's closing remarks.
Welcome back, people. Like I said, I'm just a simple kind of guy. I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to promise you the world. You know, county commission is very limited in what they can do. You know, they have to stay within the budget. They have to work with the budget, work with different departments, and we'll just do the best we can. I'm in there trying to replace 2 people that served our county well. Teresa Scott and Jerry Creasy that are retiring this year. And like I say, I'm a Democrat. I've got 2 Republicans opposing me. And we need a balanced government that'll work for all the people. That's why my sign says one for all. I want to represent everybody. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Because like I said, I used to be a Republican myself. You know, I got old.
On August the 4th, you're going to be voting for Sabre Beauchamp, Stephen Popick, or Steve Aaron, who is here tonight, and choose wisely. Let's have a round of applause. Steve. Steve and I have something in common. I too was born in Oak Ridge. My parents came to Oak Ridge in January of '44, South Carolina. That's where they were born and reared. In 1948, I was born in the old Oak Ridge Hospital. But when I was 5, we lived at 124 East Irving, up off of Iroquois, up on the side of the hill above Willowbrook Elementary School. But when I was 5 months old, we moved to a 40-acre farm in Dutch Valley. And I grew up a country boy, went to Clinton High School rather than Oak Creek. But I just haven't, with that in mind, I have a fond closeness of everything in Anderson County. And I was thrilled and honored, and thank you, Dan Robbins, for calling and asking me if I would do this. Lastly, we have County Commission District 8. We have, in alphabetical order, we have Myra Mansfield, come on down here. We have Jake Martin, Bob Smallridge, and Phil Yeager. Y'all just come on down here and take a seat. This is the last panel, and we're going to have
Myra Mansfield, Jake Martin, Bob Smallridge, and Phil Yeager. And each one of you are going to, in alphabetical order, come up here and make an opening statement. Since all three of you are men, I think Myra Mansfield's not here tonight. I'm smart like that. I went to Clinton High School.
in alphabetical order. Jake Martin, you come up here, give us a minute and a half opening statement.
How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Jake Martin. I'm running for District 8 County Commission. And I want to thank everyone for inviting me, and also thank everyone for making me nervous wreck all day. First of all, I'm a second generation Oak Ridger. I'm very proud of that. My son's a third generation, so I think it's very neat. A little bit about my background. I'm an electrician by trade. I had my own small business for over 7 years here in Oak Ridge. I am, and after that I became, and still currently am, the Chief Electrical Inspector for the City of Oak Ridge. At Oak Ridge, I've helped start some programs for the employees, like the Wellness Committee, and we bring annual wellness, health and safety fairs for the employees and school employees every year, which COVID has kind of changed that a little bit. I also founded and ran Jake Break for Kids for over 6 years. We help exercise programs with the schools, and we also hosted 3 large health and safety fairs for kids here in Oak Ridge, and it was all free to the community. With all this, I have over 25 years of direct public service. Through my career in the programs, I have truly enjoyed being a problem solver and liaison for businesses, citizens, and the city of Oak Ridge. And I hope this helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Martin. Next, Bob Smallridge. Minute and a half opening statement.
First, I'd like to thank the league for sponsoring the forum this evening, and for all of you for coming out. Just by way of a little background, I grew up in a small town about the size of Clinton, outside of Rochester, New York. But we've been, both my wife and I, Carol, we lived in the same house in Emory Valley, and we were just going on 50 years this summer that we've lived in Oak Ridge. I retired, I worked with the Oak Ridge schools for 26 years, the last 20 of which I served as superintendent of schools. Retired in 1998, but I really didn't retire. Ended up doing 3 interim assignments as superintendent, first in Campbell County, then in Clinton City, and back in 2015, back here in Oak Ridge. I've always tried to be involved with the community. I served on the Senior Advisory Board for 2 terms, the Oak Ridge Heritage Preservation Association for several years. I also, presently I'm Vice Chair of the Charter Commission and alternate foreman for the Anderson County Grand Jury. So So I think these positions have helped me understand Anderson County government. Thank you.
Bill Yeager is next, our third county commission candidate with an opening statement.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Bill Yeager, and I've had the privilege of serving as your District 8 Commissioner for the last 6 years. Community involvement has been very important to me over the years. I've served on nonprofit boards such as the Emory Valley Center as treasurer, ADVAC, and the United Way Finance Committee. I've also been chosen by Oak Ridge City Council to serve as on the Building and Housing Code Appeals, Industrial Development Board, which I served as treasurer, and the Planning Commission, which I'm still a member. In 2016, I had the desire to serve my community in a representative way, and I won that election in 2016 and again won in 2018. Myron Iwanski was my District 8 co-commissioner, and I couldn't have had a better role model. I believe I've earned the respect of my fellow commissioners and was chosen to serve on the Finance Committee, which sets the financial management policies and procedures for Anderson County. I've been chairman of finance for the past 2 years. I've also served on the board of trustees, which is the committee that determines benefits for hundreds of employees and their families. I was also chair of the Human Resources Committee for 3 years. And just this week, I had a fellow commissioner ask if I'd be interested in serving as chairman. The past 6 years has been challenging for the financial recovery from the 2008-09 recession and the COVID pandemic. But the county is now in the best financial shape in decades. We have a AA bond rating, which has saved taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I will finish that thought next time I come
I was going to say, these answers probably have been polished on that. So, what in particular, come on up here in alphabetical order, Jake Barton. Jake Barton, you come up first. What in particular sets you apart from your opponents?
Well, it's hard to say. I've got big shoes to fill. I think what might set me apart, I'm fresh eyes here. I'm new to politics. But also being a city employee, I've worked through some of the infrastructure problems that the county is fixing to go through, and I think currently going through. So I feel like I could be a good asset and a liaison for those problems.
Okay, next we have Bob Smallridge. Same question. What are the 3 most important issues? No. What in particular sets you apart from your opponents? Same question.
There's the question.
That's kind of a hard question for me to answer because in one case, I know the person very well and have served with him for the last 5 years on county commission. The other person I don't know that well, so I'm just going to go and talk a little bit about my experience. As I say, I've been on county commission for 5 years now. I take a lot of pride in studying the issues very carefully, a lot of reading. My wife will tell you I spend a lot of time at home trying to make sure I understand what's being proposed and the consequences of what's being proposed. So I would have to say that, plus I mentioned a couple of things. I've served as the, excuse me, I'm messing that up, I'm sorry. I have to go back to my notes here. I've served as the director of with the Anderson County Commission. It's been a very good experience. I think the experience has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Next we have Phil Yeager. Same question. What in particular sets you apart from your opponents?
I'm not as good looking as either of them, so that's not a good start. I believe my experience, the responsibilities I've had, the results of good steward of taxpayer dollars of the county has been proven. We have, like I said, the best financial shape we've had in decades. I can't take all the credit because it was a group effort, but some of the items that we brought forward from the Finance Committee has helped a great deal. I know this is going to be brought up later about the American Rescue Plan, but with 6 new commissioners, I think experience is really going to be key. And I'm going to tout Dr. Smallridge here. We've made a great team. I've served on finance, he served on budget, and I think we've made the best team in the county. So I think the experience and responsibilities and I've shown over the past 6 years sets me apart somewhat. Bob is there too, but I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Let's go in reverse order this time. Bill Yeager, you get the question. The American Rescue Plan brought millions of dollars to millions in state and federal dollars to Anderson County that was available for water and sewer. How do you approve that? How do you propose that money be spent best?
Just last week, as a chair of the Finance Committee, I had a work session about American Rescue Plan. And there were 45 projects that were brought forward. So this is not a small thing. This is a really big deal. Ambulance purchases, police, voting machines, EMS, family justice, nonprofit committees, IT upgrades. There were just millions and millions of dollars that needed to be needed here. And sewer and water are probably the most pressing, especially sewer. Claxton has had sewer problems for years, and this would give us an opportunity to alleviate a lot of that. I think water is everywhere. I was told there were only 3. There's a church and 2 houses in the county that doesn't have water. So this gives us an opportunity to address items that we may have had years and years that we couldn't fund them. So this really gives us an opportunity to address items that will really benefit us for decades.
Same question. Bob Smallridge. American Rescue Plan has brought millions of federal and state dollars here to Anderson County for water and sewer infrastructure. How do you propose that money be used?
We really do have a windfall with the money that we receive from the American Rescue Plan. To date, we have spent the money on whole body scanners to prevent illegal drugs being brought into the jail. We have salary upgrades for law enforcement, very, very significant upgrades in the deputy law enforcement people. We had a terrible turnover problem with those, and that has been upgraded. They've been upgraded by 18-19%. We have we've spent money on a countywide assessment of water and sewer and senior center improvements. As to date, about $950,000. In terms of most urgent, I think water and sewer improvements are very important. We have a good possibility of getting an additional $5 million. We have to match it with about $1 million match from the county, but that's a good deal for the county. Emergency vehicles, police and ambulance, multi-factor authorization, radios, so that all departments can communicate together effectively. right now we don't have that possibility. And county parks are something we should look at as well as broadband.
Madam President, American Rescue Plan has brought millions of dollars to Anderson County, water and sewer and other infrastructure projects. How do you propose that money be used?
Well, there again, with the city, if everybody remembers, we got caught with our pants down with EPA on our sewer system. So that would be one of the main things I would like to see, and a better sewer system for the county. Also, water is always, of course, very important. Some cities have had a problem with that. That would be some of the key things. The big thing, like the sheriff stated, is employees. We've got to take care of our employees to keep good employees. That's the only way we can have good services in the county. And so to me, that would be the two most important things I would worry about. Thank you.
Our last question for all three of you, and Bill Yeager, come up here. Tell us what are the three most important issues facing Anderson County. Three most important issues facing Anderson County.
I think you've heard all of these, but I'm going to repeat some of them. Retaining and recruitment, especially in the law enforcement jail section, we gave substantial raises to the jailers. The state gave 35% increases for their jailers. So it was kind of an unfunded mandate that we increased our jail employees. We gave 18% raises to our jail employees. The road sheriff department gave them substantial raises because it's always easier to go to the plants and get more. So to retain and recruit, those are the two most important things for employees. Inflation is starting to hit us pretty hard. EMS came to us for extra money for gasoline. The sheriff's department is going to be doing the same. Fire trucks are not part of the county, but we gave them an additional $5,000 each. Asphalt is up substantially because of petroleum, and like we spoke about, with the sewer, water, internet. Those are the main things that I see.
Okay, Bob Smallridge, same question to you. What are the three most important issues facing Anderson County?
It's kind of hard to select priorities because it seems like everything is important and we need to make progress with everything. But water and sewer, we've talked about a lot. Fortunately, we've got the ARP funding to use for that and the opportunity to get additional funding. I think employee compensation, we've just found with the jail that if you let salaries get too far behind, you get turnover, and turnover is never good for any organization. I think rural services haven't been mentioned, but we've got a lot of rural areas in Anderson County that don't get the services, or it's difficult to get the services to them. If someone has a medical problem in an isolated area of the county, they may not get service or an ambulance for 45 minutes. So those are a couple. The other thing I would mention is to continue our strong recruitment and of retail and commercial and industrial. And then schools are always a priority, and employers will tell you that you've got to have good education to attract companies. Thank you.
Jake Martin, you come up here and tell us about the three most important issues facing Anderson County that you think.
Well, I think we all agree on employee recruitment is always strong and keeping those good employees, so that would be one of them. The utilities and infrastructure for the utilities, of course, is what I think is one of the most important things. I guess the third thing would be to make sure that to me, one of the important things is the property assessment, making sure it's on level to attract businesses, and to keep getting more business into the county and hopefully keep growing for the future.
Okay, Jake. Now each one of you have a minute and a half for closing remarks. And we're going to go in reverse order since we went in alphabetical order. To start with, Phil Yeager, you go first. Phil asked me, he said, you want to auction something off there? What name?
Log in for Oracle.
Log in for Oracle. Come on, Dan. Big contraption. Technology is great when it works. I've been standing over to the side over here listening to these potential winning candidates for county commission. Being on the election commission, not a single one of y'all said a word about new voting machines for the election commission. Don't y'all forget about the election commission now. Because we got to make sure that all the residents of Anderson County have good voting machines to cast their ballots on. Because we're going to make sure that we have fair and good election. Since we only have 3 more candidates and we'll be finished, I think we just need to go ahead and have our closing statements from these 3 final candidates. And our first one in reverse order is Phil Yeager for his 1.5-minute closing statement.
I think I'm changing my most important needs for the county. It's election voting machines. So thanks very much for the league for holding this event. My wife, Joanna Springmeyer, and I are members of the league, and we'd be out in the audience if I wasn't here. I hope I've conveyed my appreciation for the opportunity of serving the citizens of District 8, Oak Ridge, and Anderson County. Even though County Commission has accomplished many good things over the past few years, there's always work to be done. The America Rescue Plan is a once-in-a-lifetime way to meet needs that may have taken years to accomplish. I can bring trust and experience to this job, and you can contact me with questions or comments at any time. There are 6 new commissioners. Those 6 commissioners are not seeking re-election, so experience is more important than ever. I once again ask you for your vote beginning tomorrow, and would like to leave you with some words from one of the most respected county servants in recent history. That's Myron Iwanski, former Anderson County mayor, trustee, and commission chair. He said this, he said, Phil Yeager is always well prepared, thorough, and a man with integrity. He's represented District 8 with sound judgment in the decisions. I fully endorse Phil Yeager to continue serving as my Anderson County Commissioner. Thank you tonight, and drive home safely.
Okay, next we have Bob Smallridge for a 1.5-minute closing statement.
There's not too much I could feel I can add to emphasize my 5 years on the commission. It's been a great experience. It takes a while to kind of understand the functioning and the structure of Anderson County. It's different, and my experience has been with the city up until the time I started serving on the commission. But there are some different ways of operation. There's a very strong committee structure in the county. There are fee offices where there's a great quite a bit of an independence in terms of establishing a budget, the number of employees, how they're going to be paid, the structure of the office, and then there's the private acts that are given, and they pretty much establish the function of some departments. So that was all different when I came with the county as on the commission. But so it took a while to get a handle on that. I'm still learning, obviously, but I hope with my background in education, my 5 years on the commission, and the other areas that I mentioned that I've served in, I hope I can be even more effective in the future, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Jake Martin, it's time for your minute-and-a-half closing statement.
Thanks again for everybody for having us out here tonight. This was neat, a good experience for me. I just want to say I feel like my experience and my desire to help the public will be a good asset to the commission. I don't have the experience that these fellows do on the commission, but I do have experience working with the public and helping the municipal get things in order and moving forward. And I believe I can be a good candidate. And I would really appreciate your vote for me as the next District 8 County Commissioner. Thank you.
You're going to be voting for District 8. You're going to be electing 2 commissioners, and you're going to be choosing between these 4, Myra Mansfield, Jake Martin, Bob Smallridge, and Phil Yeager. And again, let's have a good round of applause for these last 3 candidates. And before I turn this microphone, y'all go sit down now. Well, you're already sitting, but I mean, go back to where you were. But I just want to say thank you for those who are running.
I don't know, some of you may remember it, but in 1994, I ran for the state senate against our current Lieutenant Governor, Randy McDowell. I remember it so well 28 years ago. And I'm still trying to figure out how we got 47% of the vote, first time I'd ever run for anything. But it was a tremendous learning experience, and I was willing to serve. I wanted to serve, but somebody told me, said, you lost the election. I said, no, I didn't lose the election. I just didn't get as many votes as my opponent got. I won, and all these candidates, all of you who have your name on the ballot, you're going to win also. Even if you don't get as many votes as your opponent, and you come up a little short, you're still going to be a winner. And don't you ever forget that. This time, Aaron Rollins has a few final remarks, and we'll turn it to you, Dan.
Thanks. First of all, I want to thank Bear for adding his humor to what is otherwise a tough and sometimes dry job. Thank you. To our Zoom operators, the Du Bois, and to Carolyn, who is president of the League of Women Voters, we very much appreciate what you've done, and we empathize with anybody that has to touch a computer. To the Petersons for sorting the questions and having us do the same ones at least 3 times. Thank you very much for doing that. Carol Facile and Willa Reister, who've been running up and down and handing out cards. Thank you. And to Mary Lucille, who's probably hiding outside. She's the director who tells us all what to do and tells us what we didn't do well when we don't do what she said. And thank you to all of the candidates for giving their time and coming and giving their energy and for being willing to serve us in Anderson County. And thank you to the audience, most of whom sat through this entire hour